the MFG cast, we're doing something new. It's called the MF Lounge. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk to people from gaming, some of our friends. We're going to have meet some new friends and just kind of talk about their life. Because most of the time when we have people on, we just kind of talk and ramble on about gaming here and gaming this and gaming that, and we don't get to know the people behind them. So I thought this would be a fun little thing to, kind of sit back, relax, and just have a good time. My setup is the usual setup. Unfortunately, it's not quite a lounge yet. It's just my 3 seasons porch. So if you hear a couple of crickets, motorcycle, some butthole, screaming really loud because he's too drunk, I apologize. But I do have one thing that I'm really excited about that makes it feel really loungy. Let me just move this over here. Yeah, we got the bar is open little light. Something I used to have back in the day when I was a kid, and then it broke, and then my parents went and bought one for me for a Christmas present a couple of holidays ago. So now we're getting really professional. Not really. All right. So sorry about all the noise and stuff. This episode, this episode, this video or whatever, we're having our good friend John Haremza from Legends of Tabletop. John, good to see you, bud.
Hey, how's it going? How you been?
Yeah, good. How are you, man?
Hanging in.
Awesome. So I love how every time me and you meet up, you're always prepared. You're always like, okay, what are we doing now? What are we gonna do this? I'm like, nope, I'm not telling you anything. We're just gonna get together. And we're just gonna have some fun. So if you guys have actually listened to our podcast, we've had some random BS podcasts. It would be kind of something like that, except we're gonna probably look into more non-game related stuff, so we can talk to John about it.
Oh, I got a stack of games here on the floor. I thought we were going to go through all these.
yeah, right. If I know you don't have that. You liar. So I'm going to start off with a question that I think I'm going to ask everybody. So is there something that people don't know about you that listen to Legends of Tabletop that, maybe they'd be surprised to know?
Man, I don't know. That's a loaded question.
Doesn't have to be scandalous. It's just something like, one time I bumped into, I don't know, Sean Connery, and he called me an asshole. Something, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm a fairly open book, I think. I was a Boy Scout. I don't know that's ever come up on the air before.
So for some reason, I'm not surprised. You seem like you have that. You have that demeanor about you.
Maybe. I never got my Eagle Scout though, because I was lazy then, just as I am now. So nice. I got up to Star and was like, well, that's a lot of work, and I just like to go camping. So fuck it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually was a Boy Scout myself for a very short time, and the lady that was our, I don't know what you would call it, Boy Scout leader or whatever. She did not care about us. She was like, here, go in the woods and go find nature. Almost got bit by a snake, and then decided I didn't want to do this anymore. So.
Well, that doesn't sound like the best scenario. Although we did a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, was it something that you just thought, like, I don't care about this as much as other people did, or, was it, I don't know.
So my friend's mom talked me into it because my friend Chad was doing it, and she was like, oh, you should like totally, get into the Scouts with Chad and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. So I was like, fuck, whatever. So my first experience, I didn't do Cub Scouts or any of that stuff, was summer camp. So it was, it's in Pennsylvania, might have been North Jersey. Anyway, super hot, super muggy. We're sleeping in these old canvas tents, open on both sides. I'm like, wow, that's the fucking worst thing ever. And then they wanted us to work, like you're supposed to do your merit badges over the summer and stuff. I'm like, wow, this fucking sucks. One kid went to the hospital. He had like poison ivy and bug bites and rashes. He was scratching, so they wound up taking him to the friggin' hospital.
Oh, jeez.
So we came back, and I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know. And then, we got into like the meeting routine and all that stuff. And, because it runs like the school year, because we had our meetings at the elementary school. And yeah, it was all right. We learned knot tying. We did merit badge. We broke up into patrols and all kind of stuff. But, it was, for me, it was like hanging out. We got to go camping. We got to play with fire. We ran around in the woods. We used to play manhunt was our big, we go camping, we'd separate out into groups and we just run around the woods. Like we never thought about snakes and bears and like all that kind of stuff. Like we just went out and ran around and did stuff,
Nice.
So
I love that you called it manhunt. That sounds
That's what it's called.
Nice. That sounds way too organized for kids. Like we basically just went out in the woods and like chucked tennis balls at each other's faces and called them grenades. Like grenade, and you threw a fastball at somebody's eyeball, and you're like, oh my god, what were you thinking back then?
Yeah. We didn't have much regard. I mean, fuck. One year we had a bonfire. I swear to God, it had to be like 5-6 feet tall. The fire ring was enormous, and we were like laying logs in. Like it was crazy, the stuff that they let us get away with.
That's awesome. So how long have you been doing Legends of Tabletop now?
We started to kick around the idea in 2014. And the first, I think, official podcast, I think was April in 2015. But the website, I think, went up that February. Like I started the Twitter and, got the website going and all that kind of stuff. But I think the first official podcast was April in 2015. So a little more than 4.5 years.
Gotcha. So was it something that started off as a blog and then went into podcasting, or?
Well, so the original conception that I had was because at that time I was running a home 4th ed D&D campaign, and I'd make crafts and things for the table and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm not the best GM, so I'm like, here, look at this shiny thing. Like this is cool. Don't worry about what I'm saying. So I said to Vince when I got I got separated at the time for my wife, and I'm like, I'm thinking about like I have some time on my hands. I guess like maybe I'll start like a WordPress blog or something and like, show all these little crafts and stuff. And he's like, no, we should like totally do like a legit website and this and that. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, that's not what, he's like, oh, look, I'll pay for the first year and, whatever. I'm like, all right, fine. So we started up doing it. We're like, well, maybe we'll do a podcast like once a month. And, I enlisted Neil and Jesse because I'd been on their podcasts before. And like, hey, I'm doing a thing. Like if you have articles or whatever stuff you want to submit, and like it just blew up from there. We just started moving on, and it was a little slow at first, and then we started getting some games in for reviews, and we started like working our way through the community, and Adam Scott Clancy was like our 15th episode. So we started getting some of the big hitters right away, and then it like snowballed. I think one year we had 62 interviews.
Jeez.
And Leah was on at that point. Leah joined as my other co-host. So she's got her own thing that she's doing. She's, brings in a bunch of different authors and different circles that she's working with. So that helps out a lot too. Because there's only so much stuff you can push out,
Oh yeah. Yeah. You really have to take time for yourself, and you don't realize that as you're doing something like that. But So, when it started and now where you're at, are you, this is kind of a loaded question too, and I apologize for saying it, but I kind of want to know, like, are you happy where you're at now? Are there some things that you're like, I wish I would have done that a little differently? Or is there something in the future that you're like, I would really like for this to happen. I just need some pieces to kind of fall together.
Am I happy? No. I mean, if you're happy with what you're doing, and again, maybe this is loaded for me to say it this way, but if you're happy with what you're doing where you're at, you're probably not trying hard enough, right? Like that's, it's like an ego thing, I guess, or whatever. Like it could always be better. We could always be doing more. We could always, that's a little bit of self-flagellation on my part. And I wrestle with that quite a bit because, you see stuff like, and it's not a fair comparison, right? But you see stuff like Critical Role and things like that, where they, play Call of Cthulhu and they get, 2 million views on a thing. And like, well, we play Call of Cthulhu. Like we posted a Call of Cthulhu game, so it's like, but we're not voice actors. We're not professionally trained. We're not, we're having fun. We try to be descriptive, and be, cognizant of the fact that people are potentially going to be listening to a show. So, we kind of take that stuff into mind, but yeah, I always want more. I feel like it could always be better. Like in the beginning, I wasn't putting sound effects into the actual play podcasts. And then after a little while, I was like, you know what? It would probably sound better if I did this. And then man, it's such a huge amount of work, but the final product is so much better. And I still listen to a lot of podcasts myself. And I enjoy when people go through that extra effort and they make it real tight. And, it's got good editing and they've got sound in it, because it's a more enjoyable experience. But once you start, you can't really stop, right? So you're kind of locked into that kind of mindset now. And it is what it is.
Yeah. So, a lot of times when you guys do your mostly role-playing stuff, but you also will do some interviews with board game designers and stuff like that. But most of the time when you're doing your role-playing, you are doing the role-playing and you're not doing any GMing. Is it why do you think that is? Why don't you run any games?
I'm not super comfortable running. I've run things before. Like I said, I was running a 4E campaign. And felt like there wasn't a lot of expectations put on that. And I did a lot of.
You think it was the players' fault because they weren't living up to their hype, or was it something that you were just kind of like, why am I doing this?
No, neither really. So when we first started, let me digress, right? It's going to be like this online. So when 4th edition came out, Vince was like, hey, we should play D&D again. And I'm like, all right, whatever, we'll give it a shot. So we went out, bought the books and whatever. We started playing and we had a great time. So we were playing like every other week and this and that. And, then life gets busy and he was like, I can't do this twice a month. So my friend Glenn, who was playing in our campaign, he was like, hey, I can, we can do an alternate campaigns. We'll run them side by side. So we started doing that. And then I was like, hey, do you want to break? You guys interested in doing Star Wars? Because at that time I was listening to the Order 66 podcast. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I wouldn't mind running that. So if you want to run, 2 games and then I'll run, and then you run 2 games and I'll run. So we kind of did that sort of switch up a little bit. For me, again, like I said, I like to bring a lot of props. I get dressed up, lots of cool stuff on the table to sort of distract from at least my feeling of inadequacy of GMing. And whether that's fair or not, that's my own, again, self-flagellation. So doing it online, you can't do that, right? There is no table. We're just kind of sitting around. So I don't feel super comfortable doing it. I mean, I guess I probably could. The other thing is, with all the work that goes into the podcast, just in, in editing and scheduling and, playing games and all that stuff, for me to come up with a campaign and sort of keep track and make notes and because everything that we were doing was sandbox. I just don't have the time. I mean, that's what killed my 4th ed campaign, was like, shit, guys, I can't, I have 4 ongoing campaigns. I've got interviews every week. I'm working, I'm a single parent. I can't, I don't have time for any of that now. So
I think this is something we've talked about quite a bit. So how many RPGs do you own that you have not played?
Not played?
Yeah.
So I haven't played The Fall of Delta Green.
Yep.
Which I bought, which is a beautiful book. And there's another one here. Hold on, let me grab it, because I don't remember the name. It is the Wandering Heroes of Ogre Gate.
Oh, nice.
And that's Brandon Davis. We actually had him on the show a while back. I was trying to con him into running a one-shot, and he was like, yeah, I'm not really going to be able to do it. I'm like, fuck, all right. But I ordered it, for support, right? Because he's, indie guy doing his thing. This is what he's doing. So you're throwing a little bit of money at that, and that helps. But I grew up watching, Sunday Morning Kung Fu. So I'm like, wow, this sounds awesome. So Haven't played that one yet. So those are probably the only two. I play RPGs like I buy board games. If I, unsure if I'm going to play, then I'm probably just not going to pick it up. Like I won't just grab systems to grab them. Like, oh, this is really cool. I'm going to read through it. Nah, I'm not going to pay $60 and then it's going to sit on my shelf.
Yeah, well, that's good. You have the fortitude of probably 1% of the people in the world, because I know lots of people that have lots of things that go unwanted or, unloved, I should say, that kind of sit on the shelves that get, that are waiting to be played. So,
yeah. People talk about like board game pile of shame. I think I have one game in the house that I haven't played.
That's crazy.
Because I just do a ton of research before I go in and buy.
Yeah.
Because games aren't cheap, and if you're going to drop $60 or $50 on a game, like I want to be pretty damn well sure I'm going to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you ever gotten burned on anything that you thought for sure this is going to be amazing and that just didn't turn out to be that way?
The only thing that really comes to mind is Tigris and Euphrates. I'm a Kinesia fan.
Mm-hmm.
I love Through the Desert. I love Samurai. I had 3 or 4 other games up there. So I saw Tigris and Euphrates, and I'm like, man, that's like, it's area control. It's a bag builder, but I'm like, that's fine. And we've played it a number of times at a lower player count. And to be fair, it's probably not great with 2, because you can play on opposite side of the board and never interact, which you're not going to do with 4 players or 3 players even. And it fell flat for me because I felt like I should really, really love it because I love the other games so much, and they're all very similar. Blue Lagoon, similar kind of thing, area control, all that. And it just didn't grab me.
Yeah, I can understand that, because it's weird. I never thought I would rely or take a look at Board Game Geek when they have the little thing that says best with how many players, because a lot of times I'm just like, yeah, whatever. That doesn't mean anything, because some companies will say on the box, this game plays from 60 to 120 minutes. 3 hours later, you're like, this game is full of shit. There's no way, But I do think that sometimes looking out for that kind of thing is a good thing, because the player count, because, unfortunately we don't have a gaming group over here. I do have a game night with Mike, and that's 2 players. And then, every once in a while I could play with Tracy, or I could play with Tracy and my son Logan. And that will be at the greatest 3, but we're not going to play, a 3-player game of, like Twilight Strike. Well, I know Twilight Striker is only 2 players, but I'm not going to play this heavy Euro game with my son, even though he is very smart for who he is. I know that he does not care for that kind of stuff.
Right.
He would rather play something that's a dexterity game that's, kind of goofy and fun and stuff like that. But it's just interesting. You almost have to like research that kind of thing nowadays. Otherwise it's just like, you're just wasting your money, and why do that?
Well, we had Sean on for the, I guess for the New Year game, the New Year podcast.
Yeah.
And he threw out Citrus. And I kind of dawdled a little bit, and I watched some playthroughs and I watched some reviews, and I'm like, I guess like I'll pick it up. And then we played through it the first time. I was so excited. Picked it up at the store, got it home, punched it all out. I'm like, we got to play this tonight, guys. Stayed up till 11 o'clock playing the game. And I'm like, oh, well, that was okay. And then I went through the rules again. I'm like, fuck, we played it wrong. No wonder I didn't like it. So we played it again a couple more times, and I love it. It's a great game.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's a good point too. Sometimes it's good to, give something a different chance, give it another chance or whatever, just in case. One of the last regular podcasts that we did, we talked about we had a double review of a couple of games, and when I played Era Medieval Age by Eggertspiel, I played it. The first time I played it, I learned it 1 player, because I was like, well, it plays 1 player. I can, Tracy and Logan don't want to play something, I can, go off to the side, play this by myself. Played it by myself, and I absolutely did not like it 1 player, because it's basically, here, let's see how many points you can get. And I'm like, it sounds like a video game, but it's slow, and I'm like, right. I don't that's not how I want to play a game. I want to play a game that brings that one player game and makes it a little more exciting, because a lot of times I have trouble with one player games because I want them to play quick, or I want either that, or I want them to, have a little more than just, oh, I used 4 wood. Oh, I did this. Oh, it's kind of crazy. What was the other question I was going to ask? Oh, so let's get off the topic of gaming. Let's talk about you a little bit more. You recently went to a concert. Oh God, what was it? You just posted about it.
I saw Jeff Tate, the former singer for Queensryche.
That's right. Now, does he is Operation Mindcrime? Is that his actual band name, or was he just singing by himself with another band and then he proceeded to do some Queensryche songs?
Yeah. So when they, and he maybe had something prior to that, but the band that he was in, the band that he fronted, was called Queensryche, and they had 2 albums out, I think, before Operation Mindcrime came out. And Mindcrime is this, high concept album, and they're telling this whole story from start to finish, and it's an amazing album. I think it came out like 1990, 1991, and we saw them way back then, and they did the full Mindcrime album as a show, and then they did some other stuff. So it was the 30th anniversary of the album coming out. So they've been on tour for the last year or so. And I'm like, man, I haven't seen them in forever, and I really love that album. I tried to ask around a couple people to go, and everybody was like, fuck it, I'm going to get a ticket, I'm going to go. So I sat in the 4th row, right on the end, right towards the front, and he put on a great show. He can't hit the high notes like he used to, but, fuck, this 30 years ago. Bruce Dickinson can't hit those high notes anymore either. It's just a fact of life. But it was a really great show. Everybody was super into it. He was smiling, and, he was having a good time. I think 3 of the band members probably weren't even alive when the album came out. The drummer looked like he was 14. But it was a lot of fun. I used to go to a lot of shows when I was a teenager. We were in Philly all the time. There was one week we hit 3 shows in a week. It was like a Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. We were at shows. So, it's bridged tolls and parking and all that shit. And it got to be expensive, and, we would stop going. And then, just in the last handful, 3-4 years, I started going to shows again. And there's nothing like going to a live concert. And most of them have been smaller shows, and they're even better. Like, a stadium show has its own feel and has its own, whatever. But a small show, a house concert, or a venue that holds like 1,000 people, it's amazing. It's just such a good time.
That's awesome. So, sounds like to me you're primarily listen to hard rock metal for the most part.
No, that's not true.
Really? So tell me a band or singer that you went to that nobody would expect that you'd be going to.
Nobody would expect. So I've seen Wynton Marsalis twice.
Wow.
My kid went with me the last time we went. Branford Marsalis with Kurt Elling. Kurt Elling is amazing. Who else have we seen? Leo Kottke. He's an old folk singer. My friend Jack Williams is a musician. He's been a musician his entire life. He's amazing. So, more folky stuff. Lord Huron, Tom Petty, AC/DC. It runs the gamut. ZZ Top, George Thorogood. I mean, it's just kind of all over the board. I've never been. Oh no, I saw Lyle Lovett. He put on a good show. The only thing I haven't seen probably is a rap show. That's not true either. We saw House of Pain at a little club in Philly, and the opening act was Rage Against the Machine.
That is weird.
Yeah, that was a crazy show.
Yeah,
We saw War at a little club.
That's crazy. Yeah, that would have been fun to see a little show with Rage Against the Machine. That would have been intense. Holy smokes.
And it was before anybody knew who they were. He was up there screaming and raging. He was crying at one point. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, he's really into it. He's stood for something. It's awesome. Yep. It's crazy. All these bands that you see, and then they, kind of split up, and you're like, why did you ever do that? Rage is one of them. It feels like.
Oh,
Um,
Lindsey Sterling too. I took my kid to see Lindsey Sterling twice.
oh, nice.
That'd probably be the biggest one nobody would expect.
Yeah, no kidding. So let's try that again. What was your most exciting experience going to a show?
Going to a show? I don't know. I mean, I enjoy them all. House concerts are the best. Or like a really small show where you can go up and actually meet the performer. They come out and they're signing merch at the table and stuff like that. I saw Keb Mo earlier this year, and he had a guy open up for him, John Tavius Willis, 23 years old, just graduated college. Man, sounded like he'd been singing blues. He sounded like a 70-year-old man. Like, it was just amazing. I grabbed him after the show. I'm like, dude, like, fuck, that was amazing. Like, he was, most people play the harmonica. They got the holder and they're playing and they're playing guitar. He put the thing in his mouth horizontally, like had half the harmonica in his mouth and was playing guitar, playing the harmonica and singing at the same time. It was ridiculous. I've never seen this in my life.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, my favorite experience, I know this is all about talking about you, but I love kind of chiming in. But my favorite experience is I used to work for a music store here locally, and we played Ozfest. And just seeing Ozzy Osbourne play, like, you can barely move. You can tell the years of hard drugs and running around and stuff like that had kind of taken a toll on his body, but he's like creeping over to the edge and he'd throw a bucket of water on somebody, but like literally, like those pipes had not left him. You could tell it's something that, he's a performer, he's just used to it. And, and he was just, I mean, it was an experience, and even, we have a local rock festival here, and Judas Priest played.
Oh, cool.
And I'd been a semi Judas Priest fan. I kind of knew the hits and stuff like that, and we went and saw, and they were just incredible. Talking about like playing old stuff. They actually, the first thing they did is they played their first album, British Steel, back to front or front to back.
Wow.
And
Nice.
and again, talking about old guys just shredding it up, like, I think there was probably like maybe one guy that had been new, but the rest you can tell they had been, been with the man forever because they were old, wrinkly skinned dudes. But, the lead guitar was just shredding everything. Rob Halford was just hitting the note. Like, he still can hit the notes, just high, low, just hitting everything. And it's funny because me for a concert goer, I will sit there and let the music engulf me. I don't really clap that much. I don't really scream. I'll maybe sing a little bit, but I don't get into it that much because I like, everybody else does that. Everyone's just like, oh, I love you. Whatever. We all know that.
We're all here.
Yeah, exactly. We bought a ticket, obviously. But this one, for some reason, I was screaming every song. I was up on my feet. It's just, it takes something special for that to happen. And not like these other concerts I had been to. I mean, I've been to a lot of good concerts, Pearl Jam, Live, Bush, like Rage Against the Machine. God bless it. System of a Down, like all these great bands, and they just perform really well. But like, I don't know, for some reason that just caught me and just made me like, wow, these guys, they've been doing this for how many years and still are amazing.
Yeah. I'm disappointed. I never saw the Dead. I'm not a big Dead fan, but they would come to Philly and they'd be there for like 3 or 4 days. And I'm like, we should probably go. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like,
yeah,
it
sucks having that.
I'm like, well, fuck, Chris Cornell. Oh, his live in Sweden is so raw.
Well, his voice.
Yeah.
His voice, he's one of those guys that, and I obviously think of you when I say this, it's like very good rock singer, but also very good bluesy singer too. Like, he can hit both of those perfectly.
Yeah. I'm so disappointed that I'll never get to see him.
Yeah. I was the same way with like Stone Temple Pilots was here one year, and I was like, why didn't I ever see that? You know, and I live close. We live next to Minnesota. I never saw Prince. What the hell was wrong with me? But I did see him once though, because there was we went to a Lenny Kravitz concert, and he was playing on the stage, and there was the sound booth, and there's just this massive group of people, and they're just milling around and stuff like that. And I'm like, I kept looking over there, and my buddy kept looking over there, and we're like, that's somebody's entourage. That's not Lenny's entourage, you know? And I called it. I looked at my buddy. I go, do you think Prince is here? And then just literally just not one song later, pops on stage, plays guitar for Fly Away, and just, I mean, I got to have my Prince experience. I wish I would have seen him, you know, play his stuff, but just, you know, just some of those people that, you know, it's like they're just one of a kind and you're never going to see anything like it. It's just, it's a dream, you know?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
It's crazy. So what other things, what other hobbies that do you have that you like to take up that's not music and not role playing and not gaming?
I used to be more of an avid reader. You know, time is an issue now, you know, with all the other stuff, but I still like to read. I like to go hiking. We used to do a lot of camp, you know, being a Boy Scout, we used to do a lot of camping. And I continue to do that into my adulthood. I don't camp out here just because, you know, we've got like 13 kinds of rattlesnakes in southern Arizona and scorpions and tarantulas.
Oh my God, that sounds like a lot of fun though. Come on.
Yeah. So, but I do a lot of hiking down here. There's Madeira Canyon is real close to the house. So I'll just, you know, I can be there in relatively short order and, you know, hike for a good part of the day. So I'm waiting. The weather's starting to break here a little bit. So as soon as it starts getting a little bit cooler, I'll be able to get up there in the mornings and do some hiking.
What do you mean? You mean Arizona actually has a break in their weather? I don't believe it.
Yeah, we actually get nice weather here for like 6 or 7 months out of the year.
Nice. We do too. It's called summer. Actually, it's
you get like 3 weeks of summer.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, it's funny. It's fall right now, and it is super muggy. Holy smokes! That's why I have all the windows open and you can hear everything because I'm not dying. Sorry, not going to do it for this podcast or this video. Sorry, for the stream. Excuse me. So when you were an avid reader, what were you reading?
Charles DeLint is by far my favorite to read.
All right, what does Charles write?
He's urban fantasy. It's sort of a magical realism sort of thing. So it's like, you know, we're sitting here having this conversation, but like there's spirits and pixies and like fae things that are happening in the background. He's a big fan of the area that I'm in this, you know, kind of southern Midwest. I saw him at a book festival here in Tucson a number of years ago, and we went out to lunch and I, you know, signed my book and we were able to talk for a little while. At that point I was still married and you know, I was like, yeah, my wife couldn't make it. He's like, oh, let me have your phone. So he's texted my wife, hey, how come you didn't make it up? Blah, 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 whatever. Like it was really cool.
That's awesome.
He was a really nice guy. Stephen King too. I did a lot of Stephen King reading when I was a teenager. H.P. Lovecraft is good. I finally picked up like his complete works in a big leather edition. So I've actually been working my way through that. A lot of history stuff, military history, things like that. Find interesting. I'm kind of all over the board.
Yeah. So, you know, it's funny because you recently posted pictures of playing Benmore 44. So I thought about you being a history buff. So what about history intrigues you about it?
Just the length and breadth of time. Like I have a small collection of like Roman coins and stuff. And it's just like, you know, you think like who held this coin? Like, you know, did somebody pay for a piece of bread with this or, you know, pay their taxes or whatever? Like, it's so cool to like hold a little piece of history like that. The military history, because it's easy to like, you know, look back and you're, you know, kind of looking at moments in time and, you know, tactics and strategy and, you know, what kind of turned the tides of battle and, you know, things like that. Like that's human that human element of it. That like I have a couple of like personal journals, guy that was in Vietnam, guy that was in Civil War and things like that. Just to like read through that stuff. I have a journal of the plague years. Guys talking about how his whole village was pretty much decimated, and it's heartbreaking, and it's can take you to some dark places, but like to be able to read someone's words who experienced that at the time, and then just kind of like meditate on that and kind of think like, fuck, like I can't even imagine like what that would be like to live through something like that. Of course, we have our own things now that that come up, and different horrible things that happen in our own timeline, so to speak. And when you're close to it like that, it's harder to put perspective on it. But when you read something that happened 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago, there's a lot more perspective, I guess, on that.
Yeah, exactly. You could be, there's so many things that happen around here, but you're like, well, we didn't go through the bubonic plague, so we're, up on something, Well,
I saw an article that says that it's on the rise now.
Oh my God. Yeah. Because of all the rats in New York and stuff like that. Oh my God. It's just, I can't even imagine. That's scary. Oh,
I think we have it out here too. I think they're like ground ferrets or weasels or some shit. They carry them because of the ticks, and people like, I think it used to be you'd have like, maybe about a dozen or so cases every year. People were out hiking or, doing whatever, and they wind up getting bit. And maybe that's just encroachment on, natural habitats or bringing people closer to it. I didn't like go through the whole article and see, I saw the headline and I'm like, oh, well, that's cool, I guess. Like, it's something else to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. It's right in your neighborhood where you hike. Awesome.
Yeah.
Ugh, yuck. Man, it's crazy. Oh, God, now you got me all jittery and grossed out. Thanks a lot. So, I thought we kind of hit on it a little bit, but I don't know if we really hit it enough. What in the future are some of the things that you'd like to do for Legends of Tabletop to really, something that you've had on your mind for a bit that you really want to, actually do? I'm at a loss for words, but
no, I get you. Vince and I have a couple of things in the works, some things that we were talking about. We have one project for the DMs Guild for Wizards of the Coast to put up there, which for all intents and purposes done. It's just not posted. We have another retail thing. I don't really give a lot of details about it, but we do have something that we're working with Amazon, and we have a company that we're working with to put out a product. Which again, like 3/4 of the work is done, but it's just like getting over that last hump and getting everything finished and finally pulling the trigger and making the payment. I'm doing a little bit of writing. It's taking me a lot longer than it should. I have a short story that's just about finished. They'll probably post up as audio drama kind of thing. And honestly, I want to write a novel based on our Day Trippers game.
Nice.
It hit me one day as I was doing the show notes, and I'm like, shit, like we could turn this into a book. Like I'm sure everybody that's ever played an RPG is like, we should probably write, fucking sell this a book. So like I'm in that zone, and it's just such a good game, and I've started on it. They like 2 pages, like
yeah.
In the game that we were working on, right? So it's like things come up. I kind of feel like I'm a crow, So it's like I'll get an idea and I'll get all hyped up about it, and I'll start working on something, and it's almost like as soon as I commit it to paper or tell someone else, then it's like it sort of exercises it a little bit, and then I'm like, oh. And then there's no steam to keep going. And then something else will pop up. And I'm like, fuck, this is really cool. I want to do this thing right now. And I want to do it right now. So it's hard for me to be focused.
Looks like someone came to say hi. It's my wife. She's not here. She's out drinking with friends. And yet she's on YouTube saying hello. So hi, honey.
Hey, Tracy.
Oh, geez. So yeah, if anyone else is watching, which I know it's not, it's just Tracy, but if you want to say hi in the comments, we all with StreamYard, we can actually show comments, show questions and stuff like that. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. Yeah, it's funny because you're one of those people that I wish I was as productive as you are. Just seems like I'm sure you could back off and be like, oh, there's a lot of things I don't do. I get it. But, even with, doing this, doing the live plays and stuff like that and adding any kind of special effects or sound and stuff like that, that's a lot of work.
It's a shit ton of work.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because, we've done stuff like that and I'm thinking, oh, I could do that. That'd be fun. And then you start to do it for like even we'll do commercials for like the podcast. I'm like, okay, I'll add some music to that 30-second thing. And then all of a sudden I'm like, crap, I don't have that right. Wait a minute. I got to turn the music up. Wait a minute. I got to turn the voice up. It's just like, it's a lot of work for that kind of thing. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And we podcast because we love to podcast, right? So like all of my friends are, scattered all over. You're in Wisconsin, Neil's in Florida, Brett's in New York and Todd's in Nevada. So like everybody's everywhere. So like this is a way for us to like hang out and connect and have a good time. And yeah, we record it and we post it up and we hope that people enjoy it. But really it's kind of a selfish thing because, if we decided tomorrow, like, you know what, we're not going to podcast anymore. We'd play games for a while, but there wouldn't be any sense of importance to it, right? And people are busy and it's hard to schedule. And I think over time, like we would just wind up not playing, and it would just you turn around 6 months or a year later and be like, "Fuck, what happened?" So I'm like, "Well, I got a podcast for the rest of my life, so we can hang out and like have a good time."
Yeah, it definitely seems like especially for the smaller podcasters, it's more like we're obviously doing this for ourselves. No offense, like I love everybody that listens to everything that we do, but we don't get as many views and listens as maybe sometimes we'd like to. But a big part of it is like obviously we want to do this for a reason, to get something out for ourselves or for somebody else. It's not going to do it itself. So you kind of have to have a small ego to say what I have to do and what I have to say must be important. Otherwise, why would I be doing it?
Yeah, it's definitely for the love. I mean, it's fun, and it scratches that creative itch. Like I think, at least I would like to think, I guess most people have, something that really kind of gets them going, right? Like some people write, some people draw, some people play music or whatever, and like this. And I'm not good at any of those things, so this allows me, some form of creative outlet. And, doubles up, like I said, we get to like hang out and, and bullshit. I mean, there's nights we'll play a game and, maybe it's 2 or 3 hours and then we'll be on for like 2 hours afterwards. Like I've been on with Jesse like 2 and 3 hours after a recording. And I'm like, dude, it's like 2 a.m. Like fucking go to bed. Like I have to go to bed. Like it's late for me even now,
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, even playing on the Fear Itself thing, I like you and Neil could go on forever. I'm like, sorry guys, I gotta go. I gotta get some sleep. I'm sorry. I love you, love talking to you, but I can't do it anymore. My eyes are so droopy.
Yeah. Well, I've known Neil for a long time now. We've played. I mean, this is so with your podcast, and I'm not a regular, but I've been on a fair number of times. Like the Legends is the 4th podcast I've been on. The first one that's my own. So I've been doing this for a long time. Like I guess the first recording I was on Nerdbound in like 2010 maybe. Mm-hmm. So I've got almost a decade under my belt at this point. So yeah, it's been a weird, strange road to travel to finally now have my own podcast going. And it's cool for me to be able to bring in all those guys that had me on their shows before. And I'm cognizant of the fact that for the most part it's mostly guys on the show, but it's like it's because it's people that I've played with in all these various instances, and we've all kind of been together. We had Danny with us for a little while, and we didn't play enough. I mean, she's such an uber gamer. Is like fuck, I can't do this once a month, guys. Like, fuck you guys. I'm going to do this other thing like all the time. Like, all right, well, that's fair. I get that. And it's, it becomes difficult because you don't want to like plug people in because like, oh, I don't have an African American on the show, or I don't have, a female on the show on a regular basis. And you don't want to just like, oh, hey, you fit, a whole of a part, piece. I play with my friends, and in today's day and age, I mean, even Critical Role's gotten some heat over their lack of inclusivity. And I think they have a pretty varied cast. I know they bring in a lot of guest players. I guess maybe the main cast, not so much. I don't watch. So like, it's kind of the thing that I sort of have in the back of my mind, but then it's like, how do we overcome that without, not being true to it, just like try to plug in a piece, which doesn't seem to be the best way to go about it, So it's a tough line to ride. Yeah, I guess in the way we find ourselves in the this social contract that we have now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to go by what's genuine to what you want to do, and yeah, you don't want to force it because forcing it, people can see right through it. It's silly to do it. Just do it the way that you naturally should be doing it, and everything else will kind of fit together. So,
yep.
All right, awesome. Well, I think I've had you on for long enough. We've hit every avenue that I can think of at the moment, but I'm sure we could have another MF Lounge episode eventually down here in the future because we've always got stuff going on. If you haven't listened to it, always go. Or if you've never experienced Legends of Tabletop, go to legendsoftabletop.com. They've got everything there. They also have the Fear Itself campaign that I'm in, that John's a part of. Also, blanking, Brett, and GM'd by Neil. And I don't know. It's funny because I know about Cthulhu and I know kind of about the mythos, but this is a little known fact about me. I don't know enough about it. And being a part of this Fear Itself campaign is actually kind of fun because I'm playing this nerdy kind of guy that thinks that he knows about everything about this, but also I don't know. So I'm like kind of faking my own way through it, which is actually kind of fun, and learning through the mythos of that. And Neil is just such a naturally good improv person that, you can tell that he's scratched like Bird Lady and this and that, and that's all he has written, or he has something in his head that he saw from a movie that he saw or a book that he read, and he's just really good at it. And it's a really fun experience, and I love being on with you guys. And I don't think it gets enough credit for what it is. So if you really like me, if you really like our conversation here, go just take a couple minutes, find the latest episode, go one of the middle episodes. I mean, it's a super lot of fun. We really enjoy it.
Yeah, I really enjoy that game. The cool thing about the Fear game is, Brett was following the Legends Twitter, and we started interacting because his name is Naralototep on the, his tag or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we started a conversation. It turned out that he went to Necronomicon Providence in 2015. It was the first year that I had gone. So I see this big fucking tall guy, long hair, walking down the street with a little pink fanny pack. That's weird. And then like an hour or so later, I seen him coming back again. So I just walked up to him. I stopped him. I said, Brett? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, it's John from oh, yeah. And like from then on, like, we're just like, really good friends. But he had never played an RPG before.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things like, hey, let's, why don't you join this game and, let's kind of play. And, who would have known it's been our longest running game on the podcast so far. I mean, we've been playing Fear for like 4 years now, right? Like, like some shortly after that Necronomicon. And he's intuitively a good player. The thing that gets me with Brett is like, we'll just get into these endless debates, right? Because it's a game, right? So it doesn't matter. But you're playing people in a modern scenario, in a modern setting, and all of your decisions matter, right? Like if you decide you're going to shoot that guy, you could get arrested, or any number of things that happen. So we, sometimes get caught in this cycle of, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? It's like, fuck, come on, man.
Yeah. It's like Call of Cthulhu with Seinfeld. It's like goes on for days about nothing and if you, it's weird because when you think about role playing, a lot of people, when they play role playing, they think of their character and they think of consequences of what they do. But a lot of the times, especially with like fantasy, people just run in going, I don't care what happens here. I don't care if I kill this guy. I don't care if this happens, blah, blah, blah. It happens. In ours, it's like, we have it in our minds where it's like, it's real life. It's like, what happens if I go against this alien and I'm just a regular person? That's not going to go well, and it's all very cerebral, but it works. And it's actually pretty funny to see where it goes and doesn't go at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, Neil will plan for us to like do something for like maybe 2 sessions. And then like 4 sessions later, he's like, all right, like we need to finish this. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? He's like, well, wait a minute. We got to have dinner. Like, we've got to make plans for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. Food is always the most important thing in this game, and I absolutely love it.
It's weird. And, it's the other games aren't to that same level, but in almost all of our games, except Day Trippers, I'll say probably, we'll go whole sessions and not roll dice because we just will RP for 3 hours and like nothing required. Some things probably should require a dice roll, I guess. Like if you're talking to an NPC, like, you want something or whatever. And a lot of times Neil just kind of like hand wave that sort of stuff. But like, yeah, we'll go whole sessions and never roll dice, which is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually pretty interesting because there's always that argument of role playing. Is it a thing that requires dice? It's called a role playing game. So you're playing a person that does things. So why do you think you would need this dice to tell you if that's the right thing or the wrong thing? So that's always one of those arguments that it kind of plagues the RPG community through the years, but it plays into what your group wants and what your GM wants. It all depends. Like me, I love dice. I love rolling them. To me, there's something, there's just something really satisfying about taking a couple of D6s and being like, oh my God, I just rolled 2 6s. That's awesome. Yeah. But also, I don't get mad at like our sessions when we don't ever roll a dice and just, we're constantly, trying to figure out what we're going to do against this big baddie, or, like literally one conversation that we could have with somebody that we're going to tell them something important. And we're like, well, should we tell them or shouldn't we tell them? And you can tell Neil just like rolls his eyes, like, just make a fucking decision so we can go on to the next thing, please. So yeah. To me, it's, I don't know, it's something that's unique and I really enjoy it. So.
Yeah, no, I do too. It's definitely, I don't want to say it's a different way to play, but it's certainly an interesting way to play.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like fully invested.
Yeah.
And like all conversations are in character. Like there's very little dicking around really when we play. There's some, right? Like there just has to be because you're playing with your friends and you're, whatever. But I think for the most part, the games are pretty tight. Like I don't normally have to cut out very much from a session, when I'm going back and doing the editing, because the games are already all pretty tight. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, it's good seeing you, friend. Good talking to you about good things that we never really knew about each other, and kind of getting to know each other a little bit more, which is cool because it seems like even after a Fear Itself session, we're always talking about this stupid shit that's not related to our lives and stuff like that. But what we do every time we talk to you, why don't you tell everybody how they can absorb anything that you've got out there?
All right. Well, the main site is legendsoftabletop.com. Our feed comes from SoundCloud. So if you hit SoundCloud, I guess / Legends of Tabletop. I don't know. All the links are on the website. I don't freaking know. We've got a YouTube page, a Facebook page. We're on Twitter, Instagram. We're all the social media stuff. The Instagram is mostly board game pictures and pictures of me going hiking and stuff. We do have one sponsor. I'll throw it out here too, maybe to Kurt's chagrin. But Neil does have his own coffee roasting business. It's Birds of a Feather Coffee. We have a legendary brew. A little bit of the money comes back to the podcast. If you use the code LEGENDS10, you can get 10% off your order, and shipping is free on that. It's a really good coffee. It's a nice medium roast. The regular flagship Birds coffees are also very good. That's what I was drinking prior to us having our own brand. And I wouldn't say that if it wasn't. It's really good coffee, so we'd like for you to check that out. But yeah, we have currently three ongoing actual play campaigns. I've taken a step back somewhat from the interviewing process. Like I said, our biggest year was 62 or so interviews, and it's way too many. Even having Leah take part in a good portion of those. So I've taken a kind of a step back from that. So our regular programming, as far as the regular episodes, the podcast feed is a little bit less than it had been, but we release our actual plays every Monday morning, and currently I'm releasing every other week some panels that were recorded at Necronomicon 2019, and they're not all about Lovecraft specifically. Some of them it's more generally about weird fiction and that kind of stuff. Although some of them do, touch on Lovecraft. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, those are going to be dropping as well. And we hope that you enjoy it. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, you can reach out to us at legendsoftabletop@gmail.com. And of course, ratings, reviews, and all that kind of stuff on iTunes or whatever your podcatcher of choice is immensely helpful. And we thank you in advance for leaving us a review. You're muted, sir.
Ah, damn it. I pushed the button and it didn't let me do it, stupid Yeti. Yeah, that's the best way to do it for a smaller podcast. Word of mouth, rates and reviews. It's the best thing you can do. Like on this one, click like on the video. Here, let me see. There we go. Click like. It was really fun talking to you, John. Yeah, like I said, absorb everything you can with Legends of Tabletop. All of the actual plays are very, very fun to listen to. Even the one I'm on. I even listen to the stuff that we've done before because I like to go back and listen to how stupid we are. It's a lot of fun. So
I've listened to probably everything I've ever been in, and it's not an ego thing, but when I was on Nerdbound, I listened to the Nerdbound podcast. So when those episodes came up, I just listened, and it's kind of cool because you can sort of self-critique too, listen to yourself as a player, which again is, some self-flagellation, I guess, on my part, but it just gives you a perspective as a listener to listen to yourself play. It's like, oh, maybe I should have did this, or maybe I should have did that.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. So thanks again to John for coming on and talking to us. Join us this coming Tuesday, which, oh my God, let me check my calendar. Hold on. This is great. I'll edit this all out. I probably won't. I apologize, everybody. Next Tuesday, which is the 24th, we're going to be having Sean Epperson from Thing 12 Games on the MFG Lounge on the MF Lounge to talk about himself too. So hopefully, if you like this one, join us next time. And until next time, I'm Kurt, and thanks for dropping in on the MF Lounge.
See ya.
We're still live.